Janelle and welcome back to Rosary Apparel. Today I'm going to be sharing 3 really cute DIYs for your home. These projects are going to be for my bedroom makeover, which I'm actually going to share the whole video of next week. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then be sure to subscribe to this channel so you won't miss it. Let me start by showing you how to make these lovely handmade pillowcases. Take your fabric, I'm using some beautiful cotton linen blends, and cut out a rectangle approximately 160 by 50 centimeters or 63 by 20 inches. To make this step a little easier, I'm using my water erasable pen to mark out the rectangle before I cut it. Once you've cut out your rectangles, hem the 2 shorter ends by folding in and pressing about 1 centimeter or half an inch twice. Then stitch in place. With right sides together, fold the rectangle almost in half, leaving about 15 centimeters or 6 inches of one side exposed. Then fold that exposed fabric on top of the already folded rectangle and pin in place. Next, stitch along the 2 longer sides of the pillowcase, securing the folded fabric in place. I then choose to overlock the raw edges of my pillowcase to stop the fabric from fraying, but you can use a simple zigzag stitch on your sewing machine instead if you don't own an overlocker. And you should now have something that looks like this. Turn your pillowcase right side out, and you should now have a neat casing to hold your pillow in place. Lastly, give your pillowcase a quick press with an iron and pop your pillow inside. I recommend making another set in a contrasting colour as I think it looks really nice and is a great way to brighten up your bedroom. Next, let me show you how to make this really impressive looking macrame wall hanging. For this DIY project, you will need 2 S-hooks, a piece of dowel that is approximately 60 centimeters or 23.5 inches long, about 130 meters of macrame cord, a crochet hook, and a pair of scissors. Hang your S-hooks onto a clothes rack or something similar, and place your piece of dowel onto the hooks. Take a 3-meter piece of macrame cord and fold it so that there is 1 meter on one side and 2 meters on the other side. You can use these same units but in yards instead, as they're close enough to being the same measurement. Attach this piece of cord to the dowel with a lark's head knot, making sure that the 2-meter cord is on the right hand side of the knot. Then tie another 3 lark's head knots onto the dowel to create 3 loops. These knots can seem a little tricky at first, but hopefully with this shot here, you should be able to see how I did it pretty clearly. If not, then I'll have a few helpful tutorials down in the description of this video that I used when I was first learning how to macrame. Evenly space out your lark's head knots by about 12 centimeters or 5 inches. Next, cut 36 2-meter long strands of macrame cord. Once I cut the first strand, I kind of used it as a template to cut out the rest in the same size. Fold the cord strands in half and tie 12 onto each loop with a lark's head knot. I find it works best to start attaching the cord in the centre of the loop and then work your way up the loop on both sides. And your work should be starting to look like this. Next, make some double half hitch knots to the centre of the work like this. Then make some more of the same knot but starting at the other side and working to the centre to meet the other knots. To make a double half hitch knot, use the last strand of cord as a travelling cord. This is the cord we'll be tying the double half hitch knots onto. Place the travelling cord on top of the next cord to the left to create a loop. Then place the left cord up and through the loop and pull to create a knot. Then place the tied left cord over the top of the travelling cord and bring it around the back of the cord and then through the loop. Again, pull to create a knot. Here's a different view so you can see exactly how I make these knots. Then simply repeat this process for each strand. When I got to the end of the first loop, I kind of tied the travelling strand around the top larkhead's knot so that the loops would keep their semicircle shape. Then continue tying these knots until you get to the centre of the middle loop. Now let me show you how to make some berry knots. To make the berry knot, take 4 strands of cord and separate them so that there's a left cord, 2 middle cords and a right cord. Place the left cord on top of the 2 middle cords to create a kind of 4 shape. Then place the right cord over the top of the left cord, bringing it in behind the 2 middle cords, and then bring it in through the loop created by the left cord. Pull the 2 strands to tighten the knot, leaving a little bit of a gap between the knot and the double half hitch knots above. Next, place the now left cord behind the 2 middle cords, then place the now right cord under the left cord, then bring it over the top of the 2 middle cords and into the loop created by the left cord. And you've created a square knot. Repeat this process until you have another 2 square knots. Now using a crochet hook, place the hook in through the back of the centre hole above the knots we just made. Then take the 2 centre strands and wrap them around the crochet hook and pull them through the hole. Using the same method as before, tie 1 square knot to keep the berry knot in place. For my macrame, I made 5 berry knots per loop by leaving 2 strands of cord at the start and end of each loop. Where the semicircles meet, I use the leftover cords to create a square knot. And you should have 15 cute little berry knots. Now, starting at the left-hand side, tie 1.5 square knots along the entire piece of work until you get to the other side. Then repeat this process, but this time start from the 3rd strand to make the next row of knots alternate from the previous row of knots. Then keep repeating these 2 rows of knots until your work measures approximately 20 centimeters or 8 inches. By the way, you should have 2 cords left over, and we will be using these for something else in a second, so just keep them looped onto one of your S-hooks so that they don't get in the way as you work. Once you've finally completed all of your knots, take the 2 leftover strands and loop them over the front of your work. Do this by tying the end of the strand onto the first lark's head knot. Next, cut approximately 65 80cm or 2.5 foot long pieces of cord. Then, like the loops at the start, fold these cords in half and tie them onto the loop with a lark's head knot. Again, starting at the centre and working your way up the loop on both sides. And your work should look a little something like this. Now all that's left to do is trim the macrame cord at the bottom, cutting in a diagonal shape to create a point at the centre. And your amazing macrame wall hanging is complete. Lastly, let me show you how to make this adorable rattan light shade. Light shades like this are so expensive to buy, so I decided to see if I could hack one from a basket instead. I managed to pick up this cute basket from the thrift store for only $2. I actually filmed that whole thrifting trip, so I'll leave a link in the description of this video if you'd like to check it out. The only other thing you'll need for this project is a pair of cutting pliers. So the plan is to cut a small circle out of the bottom of the basket with the pliers. I completely eyeballed this part, but it might be a good idea to grab your light fittings and make sure you make the circle the right size for them. Ultimately, just try not to make the circle too big, otherwise it won't fit your light fittings. So once you've marked out your circle, start cutting away the wicker of the basket with the pliers. This is a little tricky at first, but just keep cutting and eventually it starts to get a little easier, and all up, this project only took me about 10 minutes to complete. Then simply attach it to your light fixture. And your super expensive looking rattan light shade is complete. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have a go at making any of these projects for yourself, then I would love to see them. So be sure to tag me at Rosary Apparel when you share your pictures on Instagram. If you did enjoy the video, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a like, and subscribe to this channel for more DIY and sewing type videos like this one. Have a lovely day, and thanks for watching.